Yo, what's good, YouTube? It's your boy Sick and the Six Shot Gaming Channel, and I am back with another What to Do on Block Guilty Gear Try video for you today. And next video, we're going to be covering Eno or Ino. I don't know exactly how you say the name, but however you say the name, we're going to be covering her block strings today in this video. But before we get started, make sure to smash the like button, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe and hit the notification bell to get notified every single time I drop a new video for y'all. Also, if you want to help support the channel in any type of way at all, check the links below to go do so. But let's get started. So the first normal we're going to go over is her jab normals, and her standing light can change it to itself up to 3 times on a standing opponent, and the down light can only change itself 2 times. And it's going to push the opponent out too far. So you can Gatling this how you see it. So you can do standing jab up to 3 times. If you do standing jab and 2 times into down jab, it will completely miss, as you can see. But you can do down jab into standing jab 2 times. The only thing you can't do is 2 down standing jabs into a down jab. So moving on from there, Eno could cancel her jab normals into her command normals. As you can see, you could do 2 standing jabs into a forward punch, or you could do 2 down jabs into a forward punch. You can even special cancel her standing jab into special moves, and you could go into her forward heavy slash from her normals. Only thing is, if you do more than 1 jab into her forward heavy, it will completely miss. As you can see, well, the first hit at least would miss. So moving on from there, if you slightly delay a forward punch after her jab normals, you can frame trap, as you can see if your opponent is trying to match buttons. But if you try to cancel into your forward heavy slash after 2 jab buttons, no matter however way you try to mix it up, your opponent will be able to poke you out of it. So moving on from there, we're going to talk about her kick normals. The first one we're talking about is her standing kick. Her standing kick is jump cancelable, which is really, really good because you can get some instant air dash mix-ups from her standing kick. So keep that in mind. Also keep in mind that she doesn't have a traditional run. So even though this move is -2, any other character you use this as a tick throw setup where you do standing kick, run in, grab, she cannot run. So she would have to slightly walk forward. So keep that in mind. Another thing is she has many Gatling options off of her standing kick. She could cancel to any of her command normals. She could Gatling into sweep, and she could Gatling into her overhead dust attack. So that's very good as well. So tick throw setups with standing K is not the greatest because she doesn't have a dash. So she can't just dash after a block standing K like other characters. But like we went over earlier, she can jump cancel, so she can do air dash stuff, as you can see on the screen. But if you try to walk forward and your opponent likes to press buttons a lot, she also could Gatling into a whole bunch of other stuff like sweep. And if your opponent press buttons, they will get a counter hit situation. And this will be an example combo of what you could do if you use a hit with sweep. So Eno has a couple things she could do to condition the opponent to not press buttons after a standing kick. Obviously, she has a sweep, so the opponent press buttons there, they will get hit. Also, to mix up with the sweep, she has an overhead attack, even though it doesn't come out fast enough and your opponent can stuff it. But if you condition it with the sweep, then you're able to get an overhead attack out. Also, she could cancel to the stroke the big tree, the slash version, and there's a frame trap there where if your opponent press buttons, they will get hit into a counter hit state and you get a combo just like so. So once we get our opponent to respect our options after our standing kick from our big stroke the big 3 slash version or the sweep, then we're able to implement her mix-ups from her hover dash and walk-up throw. So you can do a standing kick, hover dash, and go low or go high, or you can just standing kick, walk up throw, and these are some good mix-up options to catch your opponent off guard. So the next normal we're gonna go over is that down kick. A down kick is really, really good. It's 6 frame startup. It's the same as a down punch, and it has way more range. So for a poke tool, you might as well go with her down kick instead of a down punch. She also has all the same Gatling options as her standing kick. The only thing is it's not jump cancelable compared to a standing kick. But besides that, she can cancel into a sweep. She can cancel into overhead. She can cancel command normals, forward punch, and forward heavy slash. And it's special cancelable. So it's a really, really good tool, and it hits low. Down kick into any of command normals, forward punch, or forward heavy slash are true block strings, where down kick into dust, of course there's a gap there, but depending at the range of where you do your down kick, it cannot be interruptible, where her down kick sweep cannot be interruptible at all. So it's a really good mix, especially depending on the range that you're trying to hit your down kick into the dust attack at. Also, if you hit counter hit with the sweep, this would be the example combo that you could do to connect off of a counter hit sweep. Now the slash version of the stroke the big tree, especially cancels from a down kick, can be interrupted from 5 frames and down, but if it's 6 frames, it retreat. But depending on the range or where you do your down kick from, you can beat them out, and it will be a counter hit situation. So just keep that in mind. So moving on though, the most important thing that you're going to be doing from her down kick is canceling into a sweep or Gatling into a sweep, because that sets up her no Oki, and her no Oki is one of the strongest things about her in this game, and we're going to talk more about that later. But moving back to normals, we're talking about her far slash. Her far slash has really, really good range and can Gatling into her standing heavy. And far slash into standing heavy is a frame trap where your opponent is not able to interrupt at all. So we're going to learn more about some frame trap situations later on. But far slash is a pretty good normal to throw out there, especially if you're trying to frame trap with the standing heavy slash. But moving on, we're going to talk about standing close slash. So standing close slash is -2 on block, 7 frame startup. It's a little difficult to use as a tick throw situation. It's also jump cancelable, so that's really, really good. But for a tick throw situation, it's a little bit more difficult because she doesn't have a standard dash like everybody else, and it pushes her a little bit further out compared to a standing kick. But her standing close slash can Gatling into her forward slash. That's good. It can also Gatling into any of her command normals, forward punch, and forward heavy slash. It can also Gatling into sweep, and it can Gatling into her crouching heavy and standing heavy. It also Gatlings into dust and her down slash, which I didn't have on screen, but I will show that later. So this is definitely a normal where you would get the most mileage out of it, because it has the most Gatling options out of all the normals, and it's jump cancelable. And if you position your opponent, you can do a tick throw setup off of it, even though it's not that good of a setup with Eno. But since she could jump cancel a normal and do instant air dash out of that, she could go for an overhead. She could go for an empty jump into a grab, or empty jump into a low, and so on and so forth. So moving on from there, we're going to talk about her true block strings. So we got close slash into standing heavy, close slash into crouching heavy slash, close slash into forward slash, close slash into sweep, close slash into slash version of stroke the big tree, and close slash into down slash, which I didn't showcase on screen, are all true block strings. Moving on from there, we're going to talk about frame trap stuff. So frame traps, you have close slash, far slash into standing heavy. It's a frame trap. If your opponent press buttons, they will get hit, and then you can do a combo like that to get as much damage as you can. You can do close slash into dust attack. Your opponent will not be even interrupt at all. It's really, really good. And if it hits, you can do a combo just like this, or something on the verge of that. Alright. Moving on from there, you could do close slash into far slash into the slash version of stroke the big tree, and if your opponents press a button, you catch them in their counter hit, and you get a combo like this. Really good game. Now we're gonna move on to delayable frame traps. So close slash into a delayed down slash will be a frame trap. You could do close slash into a delayed standing heavy, and if you're on point, it'll be a frame trap. You could also do close slash into a delayed crouching heavy slash, and that's a frame trap as well. And then once you see the counter hit state from a counter attack from a heavy attack or a crouching heavy attack, you can easily cancel into the heavy version of the stroke the big tree, so you get the extended combo from there. So the next normal we're gonna talk about is her down slash. So her down slash is unsafe by itself, but if you cancel it to any of her heavy normals, it will cause a counter hit if your opponent is trying to mash buttons in between, and you get that combo just like so. You could also frame trap down slash into the slash version of stroke the big tree, and that will cause a counter hit, and you get the heavy slash version of stroke the big tree combo from there. So that's really good. So again, like earlier, like I said, you could cancel the close slash into a down slash. So you could make it a true block string and cancel to the stroke the big tree for a frame trap, or you could delay it like I showcased earlier, and you get the full combo. So those are really good frame trap situations from down slash normal. So keep those in mind. So moving on to the special moves, we're gonna talk about stroke the big tree and block strings. So the slash version is unsafe. It is -7, I believe. So you can make it safe in a block string by doing certain type of block string to space the move out, but if you do a point blank, it is unsafe. So keep that in mind. But in a situation like this, if you do close slash into heavy slash into stroke the big tree, it will be safe. There's also other block strings like close slash into a forward heavy slash, where you push the opponent out way too far, where the slash version of stroke the big tree won't even connect. But if you to do it with standing kick into heavy forward heavy slash, the stroke the big tree will connect. So there's little tidbits you gotta account for here and there. So moving on to frame trap situations, anytime you cancel your forward punch into your slash version of stroke the big tree, it will be a frame trap. And if your opponents press the buttons, they will get hit. So keep that in mind. Also, close slash into far slash into stroke the big tree is a frame trap as well. If your opponents press the buttons, they will get hit. So moving on, we're going to talk about the heavy slash version of stroke the big tree. So the heavy slash version of stroke the big tree is plus frames on block. It is +2, and if your opponent doesn't have a fast enough normal to beat out Eno's down kick, which is 6 frames, you will always win that matchup. Also, a forward heavy slash is 7 frames. So if your opponent doesn't have a normal to challenge that, you could beat out, even though it's a little difficult at times. But if you're on point, you could beat out they down kick or whatever normal that's 6 frames and slower with the forward heavy slash. The only way you could consistently beat out forward heavy slash at a heavy version of stroke the big tree is with a 4 frame normal. So keep that in mind. That's be 4 frames or lower. So Chip and Soul are good examples. So if you use the heavy version of stroke the big tree in a block string, there's a huge gap in between where your opponent could always press a button to punish you. There's a huge gap. So you always have to remember that. The plus frames is always good, but the only way to get away from this is by Roman canceling. And if you Roman cancel too late and they stick out a button, they will still always hit you. Now to counter out your opponent's stuffing, your heavy slash version is with the regular slash version The regular slash version, depending on the block string, can frame trap your opponent like we learned earlier. And if your opponent gets frame trapped and they try to press the button after that, they would get hit for a counter hit combo. So once you establish those mind games into your opponent, then you can start getting a little tricky with your plus frames and do stuff like this. You can Roman cancel, grab. If you have enough meter, you can Roman cancel into a command super, a command grab super, which is really, really good, especially towards the end of the round if you have enough meter for it. You can also Roman cancel, and since stroke the big tree is a low, you catch your opponent off guard and go with an overhead. Or if your opponent is ready for that, you could go and cancel to a low. And if you cancel to a low, it's a sweep, it's an Oki setup. That's really, really good as well. Now, speaking of Oki setup, this is the bread and butter thing we're going to learn about Ino. This is our whole game plan, and we're going to go over the Oki setup and how to go about that. So anytime she gets a hard knockdown, she gets a hard knockdown off a sweep or the air version or air hit off of Stroke the Big Tree, then the hard knockdown, and you can set up a no Oki off of the heavy slash version or Stroke the Big Tree. You have to be on point by getting in and out. With the sweep version, all you have to do is just cancel it to the note. But if you take too long, as you can see, your opponent will be able to jump. So you have to be on point with the note call out after the heavy slash version of Stroke the Big Tree on the ground. And your opponent will not be able to do nothing at all. So once you do the no Oki, your opponent is forced to block. You could do a hover dash into an overhead, which is really, really good. But again, if you're too late on your no Oki, you can get stuffed out with a forward punch. But if you do it correctly, your opponent will not be able to press nothing at all, and they will get hit with the note, and you could go on into your mixer from there. And if they get hit with the note, you can confirm into hover dash, overhead, land, 2K into sweep into no Oki again, and just rinse and repeat that. So that's really, really good. The only surefire way to defend against this is to do a yellow Roman cancel if you have the meter for it and you was to push the opponent off of you. So even if you was to block the overhead from the hover dash, you're in so much block stun that if you try to press buttons after that, the kick will beat you out every single time. So your opponent is forced to block low. They cannot press buttons, because they press buttons, they will get beaten out every single time. As you see on the screen, I'm pressing buttons even after I block the overhead, and I cannot beat out the low kick at all. So once you condition your opponent to block, you can get a little bit tricky and go for a double overhead. So after they block the first overhead and they go to block low, you can go another overhead again, which is really, really good. Now the only thing is, if your opponent's mashing buttons, they will beat you out. That's why you got to condition them with the first level on Yomi with the overhead low. And you can do this setup with her main 3 air normals. You can do it with the slash version in the air. You could do this with the heavy slash as well in the air. You just have to catch enough height off the hover dash to do so. But you can do the same thing with the heavy slash version as well. You can do it with kick, slash, and heavy slash in the air. So moving on, once you condition your opponent, you could also do stuff like this. You could tick throw setup. You could do the kick overhead, land, and throw, which is really, really good as well to keep your opponent on their toes. You could also do an empty low. So you could do an empty low, just so you can see. You could hover dash, just straight land, and just go for the low. If your opponent is blocking high all the time, you can mix it up and go with a low. So that's really good. And to make your low ambiguous, you could do a short hop or short hover dash, heavy. The heavy's not going to fully come out. It's going to whip the animation, so it's going to make it seem like you're doing an overhead, and you could just touch the ground and go low. And you can use the same type of technique when going for an empty jump grab as well. So keep that in mind. So it's a really, really good thing to use when catching your opponent off guard. I advise you to get nice with that hover dash and learn that stuff. So moving on from there, we're gonna talk about, since you're gonna learn the first layer of her hover dash mix-ups, we're gonna learn a second layer of her hover dash mix-ups, and that is getting enough height in the air and instant air dashing after the first attack from the air. So you could do this from all normals. You could do jump kick into instant air dash kick. If you have enough height, you have to have enough height to do so. You could do air slash into jump kick. You could even do air slash into another air slash. And you could do heavy slash into instant air dash jumping kick. And this mix up is good is when you catch it, when you condition your opponent to block low after the first overhead. If you have enough height, you can easily do an air dash in the air and do an overhead. So that gives you a double overhead situation. And the second layer on top of that is once you condition your opponent to block two overheads, you could air dash into an empty air dash into a low, which is really, really good. You could also empty air dash into a grab, which is really, really good as well. Now, the only bad thing about that is that you could get hit out of it if your opponent is mashing buttons. They could easily do standing. They could do crouching jab, beat you out. They could do standing jab, beat you out. And they could do forward punch or forward jab and beat you out. So just keep that in mind. You can get hit out of this mix-up. So to condition your opponent not to press buttons, is if you have enough height after a block air kick, you could cancel to your air dust attack, which gives you a double overhead. And if your opponent's pressing buttons, it will cause a counter hit state where you can land and finish the combo how you see fit. Now, one thing is you have to be careful. You can't go too high on the hover dash with this technique. If you go too high on the hover dash, the jumping dust attack can whiff, especially if your opponent is doing a crouching normal. So just keep that in mind. So if the jumping dust attack connects, it's special cancelable, so you can cancel into your super, or you can Roman cancel and do whatever combo you see fit. You can Roman cancel however you want. You can do a special air dive in the air and then Roman cancel after that and get a combo like so. So just keep that in mind. So the next thing we're going to talk about is her command super, her command grab super, and how to incorporate this in her mix-up. So this super is really, really good, especially when you incorporate it with a no Oki, because this is a command grab super that turns into a projectile, which is kind of stupid, but it turns a projectile if your opponent is not close enough to you. But if you're point blank on your opponent and you do this command super, your opponent cannot hit you at all. Once the super flash, if your opponent presses a button and it's on the ground, they will get caught with the super just like so. And if you're near to the wall, it will cause a wall break and you get the damage that you see. The only way to get away from the super, like you just seen right now, you cannot attack out the super at all. The only way to get away from the super is to jump, but then even after that, you have to have the knowledge to jump and forward dash to jump over the projectile part of the super. So the same way you could incorporate her take throw or empty jump setups with her throw, you can do the same thing with her super. So moving on from there, I'm gonna give you a little tidbit with her cross up with her jumping kick. So if you hover dash far enough, you could cross up your opponent if your opponent is blocking low. Even if they are stand blocking, you can cross them up as well. You just have to hover over a little bit further. But as you can see, you can keep on mixing your opponent up however you see fit with the cross up, which is really, really good. And every E-No or I-No or whatever should have this in their game plan. So what you can do off of the cross up, you can cross up, and if it hits, you can Roman cancel and do a combo just like so. Also, you can cross up, and if you have your meter, instead of doing the Roman cancel, you could cancel into the super. And I did that wrong the first time around, but let me showcase it properly this time around. You can cross up and cancel into the super for some quick damage. So that's really, really good towards the end of the round as well. And you got mid screen and you set up the no OP, you can do something like that. Another good thing is doing the air super off of this is that it's extremely plus frames. So if your opponent tries to press buttons after that, he will get beaten out. All the time, they will get beaten out. So, well, if you know this, you can play off your plus frames and mix up your opponent. So, your opponent cannot retaliate with buttons, or they cannot jump at all. So, if you immediately go with a sweep, and a sweep reaches far enough to catch your opponent, if they try to jump, they will get hit. And if you hit with a sweep, you could go into your no OP. One way to get away from this though is to stand block the super. If you stand block the super, you're able to walk back out of the way of the sweep. So you're able to walk back out the way, and since you're far enough that the sweep won't hit you, you're able to jump out as well. But to counter that, as an offensive player, if you see that your opponent is stand blocking the super, you could do a hover dash into an overhead, and your opponent is not able to avoid this setup at all with regular like moving backwards or jumping, because the overhead will hit them out of that. So they have to sit there and block it. Or to counteract that, if they know this is coming, they can hit you out of it. But they can't hit you out of it with a standing normal. They have to do a forward punch to beat you out, just like so. If they try like a standing jab to try to hit out the anti-you, it will not work. So keep that in mind. And the level 3 Yomi on that, to get past that, is to empty jump low. The empty jump low will beat out their attempt of a forward punch, and that will beat them out, just like so. But there's also the way to beat that out by just mashing a low attack, as I'm on the showcase. If you feel like your opponent's going to go for the empty jump low, you can mash out a low attack and beat them out. So Ino has a whole bunch of mind games, and she's not like a broken character where there's no answer for all these things. Like, you just have to really, really think when defending and playing against Ino or Ino. Also, every situation that Ino was in from cross up, she could do that from her super from non-crossing up. So keep that in mind. But yeah, folks, that's pretty much the end of the road for this What to Do on Block Guilty Gear. Ino or Eno, I don't know how you say your name, but however you say it, guide. Hopefully you was able to learn something new. If you was able to learn something new, please smash the like button. I greatly appreciate it. My English is all messed up today. But yeah, anyways, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Make sure to hit the notification bell and check the all tab to get alerted every single time I drop a new video for y'all. I have tons of video for you to enjoy. So please go back and check out some of the old videos. And if you want to help support my channel in any type of way at all, check the links below to go do so. But anyways, hope all of you have a nice day. Peace.
Running, yeah, running. Whoa.
This is what we do. This is what we do.
Running, yeah, running, yeah.